Greetings, wanderers. Today's topic is: why do some Americans fear 15-minute cities? I've never heard of it mentioned in real life. I think this particular term is more commonly used and politically charged in the UK, where there's a fear that this will lead to gov control. In the US, the parallel debate is more investing in car versus bike infrastructure, because 15-minute neighborhoods isn't a viable option in most of the country without a massive rebuild. A town? I've never heard of this fear or a 15-minute city. Your description sounds like a well-equipped and half-decently planned town to me, basically a college town. I grew up in one of these college towns, great transport, hospital, multiple grocers, you could walk anywhere. Major city was not close by but within a 45-minute drive. Edit. It's an urban planning concept. People who fear efficient walkable communities are fucking dumb. It doesn't have to be small. It just has to be a city in which most the neighborhoods have the access that OP is referring to. New York City would qualify as a 15-minute city. You absolutely don't need a car there. 15-minute walk is very different than a 15-minute drive. Also, 85% of Americans say they're willing to pay more for walkability. Very walkable areas with public transit have high cost of living for a reason. The demand is very high. Some people watch too many of those Americans hate European-style cities video essays and think everyone is living in Houston, Texas or something. From what I've ascertained from comments on social media, they're suspicious that this is all part of a government conspiracy to remove everyone's mobility and confine them to their homes like prisoners. Add to that the fact that it's frequently likened to the European urban model, and you've still got a lot of Americans out there who see Europe as generally inferior and think that any kind of movement towards a European model on anything is a regression. It's a pretty unhinged theory, but there are a lot of unhinged theories gathering traction these days. There's also a lesser version of this, where they think it's preparation for taking cars away. The rest of what you said would still apply. This is the first that I'm hearing of this fear. As an American, I find it sad that we have to drive everywhere. My hometown was once very walkable, stores, churches, entertainment in neighborhoods. Now everyone needs a car. Some people believe that rather than being built for convenience, these would be enforceable by law, including fines and punishments for leaving your zone. This is so far removed from reality as to be insane, but they believe it anyway. I mean, that was exactly Australia's model during COVID. If you were caught by police more than X miles from your home, you were in trouble. Some people believe COVID was a dress rehearsal for something much bigger and longer lasting. Some Americans are just paranoid of anything changing. Literally the definition of conservative. Favoring traditional views and values, tending to oppose change. The vast majority don't when you get off Reddit and talk to people in real life. Usually people who want that move to such a city. Others don't necessarily want their small quiet town to be as dense as Atlanta, New York, Miami, etc. For a multitude of issues. But people aren't afraid of such things just because they may not want to live in such areas. Edit. For those confused, I'm not saying 15-minute cities are only like dense cities. That was one example. There are several types of such cities, obviously. You don't need super high density or even a city for a 15-minute city. Small towns are pretty much 15-minute cities. The next town up from my hometown has a population of 4,000, but everything is within a 15-minute walk from the center of the town. Of course, my hometown grew to 12,000 people, so they moved the grocery stores, pharmacies, and the high school away from the town center. Now there are only large chain grocery stores and big box stores in supersized parking lots along the 4-lane bypass, and the high school is along a highway on the opposite side of town with little around it and no sidewalks, making it impossible to walk to. This is what we object to. The places people need to go should be near the people, not near the highways. I literally have never heard anyone say, "I'm afraid of a 15-minute city." I think OP saw British people talking about 15-minute cities online, saw they were speaking English, and just assumed they were American. From what I gather, it's a polemic political term in the UK, but yeah, I've never heard anyone use this term in the US. No one fears them, but they have to be pre-planned. You can't go into an existing American suburbs, pull out the existing houses and put in a community center. BTW, James Rouse built Columbia, Maryland on the premise in the 1970s. It's nothing new. Another related issue is highways. We Americans rely on our cars to get from the suburbs to our workplaces. Corporate locations are not centralized. My office is about 25 miles from my house. It takes me 45 minutes on highways each way.